friendship. I've always been a person that hasn't had a lot of friends, and that's been for many reasons. I'm not antisocial, but I just never had a good big group of friends, some people might. And in some ways, when I hear people talking about their friends, they might have a dozen friends. They say that they haven't been able to see this one or that one, and somebody's annoyed with them because they haven't seen enough of them. And it seems it would be hard to keep people happy unless all the people that you were friends with all knew each other and you could do it in one fell swoop. So, yeah, I've never had a great many friends, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather have one or two good friends than a whole bunch of them. Of course, my best friend is always going to be my husband because he'll always be there for me, as I will for him. But recently I was out and about in my little town, and across the road was my new friend. We've only been friends a couple of months, and we met through bowls, and she makes me laugh. She's great fun. And anyway, when she saw me, her face absolutely lit up, and she waved to me and said, "Do you want to grab a coffee?" So of course, I never pass up a coffee. And just the look on her face, she was so pleased to see me, and it gives you a really warm feeling, doesn't it, when somebody is so pleased to see you. There are things that I think make a friend and things that don't. I had people at work when I was working, and I worked with them for 11 years, who I thought were friends. But it's not that they're bad people or anything, but the relationships that you have at work are often quite different from a friendship that you might have outside of work. And you might have lunch with them, and you might sort of chat with them and all that sort of thing and enjoy their company, and they're yours. But if it doesn't extend past the work environment, then they're not really friends in my book. You're friendly with them, but you're not actually friends as such. They're sort of colleagues. And a situation that I always find awkward is when you go back to work to pop in for something, and you go in to say hi, and everybody might rush up and people might give you a hug and say, "Hey, it's lovely to see you, oh, how's retirement going," and all that sort of stuff. And there might be a little bit of that going on. And then people start to shuffle and shift about and sort of go look at their watch and go, "Oh, I suppose I better get back to work." And that's absolutely fine. I've done it myself on many occasions. But yeah, it's just, they're work colleagues. They're not really friends unless you spend time with them out of that working environment, I think. So I thought about what makes a friend for me. And one thing that I say, what makes me your friend, is I often say to people, if I'm too nice, if I'm always really polite and measured and don't give you cheek, then I actually don't give you very much. But as soon as I start giving you cheek and taking the mickey, that you're Sue's friend, because that's what I do. I know by the time I start doing that and giving somebody cheek that they're already a firm friend. So you're somebody who actively seeks to be with me, that would be a friend. Someone who asks and is interested about my life. My life is complicated, my health is complicated, and I'm not doing badly, but it's actually really nice if people sort of briefly say, "How's things going with your Parkinson's?" And you say, "Yeah, you're good, yeah, nothing much to report." And they say, "Well, you're looking well," and you can do that, and then you get on to the gossip from the office, or you know, what's happening in their lives, grandchildren, and interesting things, like how are your tomatoes growing in your greenhouse, those sorts of things. But yeah, it is nice if people just sort of say how things going. And people that support you when things get rough. It's all very well being supportive and being a friend of somebody when life is going well and you're having a laugh together, but when things get tough, that's when you sort the wheat from the chaff, as it were. That you soon get to know who's a real friend and who will be there to stand by you. And yeah, this new friend of mine made me laugh the other day. We were out and I have an alarm on my phone for my medications, which hasn't gone off yet. And we were out and she just went off, and instead of saying, "Oh, what's that for?" she said, "Oh, it's time you took your medications." So she'd taken that on board. So I said, "I've got a double alarm when I go out now." She always does that, which makes me laugh. And I've always been a very independent person, and my husband knows this, and anybody that knows me knows this. But there are things that I do need help with, but it's really important to me that you ask if I need help, not just jump in boots and all and take over. I think that's a temptation if you see somebody starting to struggle, but if a person is able to achieve it and still be reasonably safe, at least they might have you supervising, as long as they're not standing on shaky little step stools or something. We need to be able to do these things for ourselves. But I've learnt over the last couple of years, particularly with my back and knee issues, that there are things that I just can't do, and that, no, I rely on my husband to do. And that's quite hard, but even if I can do part of a task, it helps me not to feel I'm completely unable to do these things. I've been talking to a number of people lately who unfortunately have had people that they really care for pass away. And the thing that they've said is, one person, we live in Christchurch, New Zealand, and one person had a good friend for many years, who was dying from, I'm not sure, obviously some health conditions. They were imminently dying, and they actually went down and spent a week with them, sitting by their bed, talking to them, reading to them, sharing stories, sharing laughs. And that to me is a friend. It's not easy to sit there when you know that person doesn't have long. But somebody said to me, at least you were able to go and tell them what they meant to you while they were still able to hear it. And I think that has much more value than people standing up and saying how much you meant to them at your funeral, because you're not there to hear it. I would much rather be there to hear it. Don't wait till somebody's funeral to be there and to show that you're a friend. Come and see them, spend time with them when things get tough. When they're on that descent into whatever comes next, having a friend come and spend that time with them will mean heaps. So I think that would be the sort of thing that I would appreciate, people taking the time to spend time with me while I'm still here. But I did have a thought. My family are pretty far flung in Australia and the upper part of New Zealand and Dunedin, and we don't get together that often because of the travelling and the expense and all that sort of thing. So if anybody came and did a surprise visit to me, I think I'd panic now that I've said that come see me before I die, not for my funeral. So here's hoping that that's not the case when the next time people surprise me with a surprise visit. Anywho, this has been Sue for Parkinson and me, my journey with Parkinson's. What is a friend? What is a friend to you? And how many friends do you have, really, that you can count on? In this life with Parkinson's, that's an important thing. So this has been Sue for Parkinson and me, my journey with Parkinson's. Kia kaha, be brave, be strong, be you.